In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make the classic granny square. This is a very beginner-friendly pattern using chains, slip stitches, and US double crochet. This pattern also shows you how to change colors. For this tutorial, you will need a size 5mm crochet hook, worsted weight yarn in 2 colors, a darning needle, and some scissors. Let's get started. For this tutorial, I am using Kramer Perfection worsted yarn in Flora and Peep. I'll get started with a slip knot. We're going to chain 4. So if you're 4 chains, we're going to slip the hook through the first chain, yarn over, and pull the yarn through both of the loops on your hook. So you close the circle with your slip stitch. Now we're going to chain 3. We're going to do 2 double crochets right through the middle here. Make sure you're going through the middle of the circle you created when you slip your ends together and not into any of the stitches. So you're going to yarn over, go through the middle, yarn over, pull it up so you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You're going to do another one right next to that, yarn over, through the middle, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, through 2, yarn over, through 2. Okay, next we're going to chain 3. Now we're going to do the same thing again, only now we're going to do 3 double crochets. Your chain 3 counted as your first one in this cluster. And you're going to do 3 doubles. So yarn over, through the middle, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, through 2, yarn over, through 2. Again. And we're going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3. And 3 more double crochet. And chain 3. And one last cluster, we're just going to go right over that tail. Actually, if you're right-handed, you probably already worked over your tail. I probably should have mentioned that. I'm sorry. I'm left-handed. I work the opposite direction. If you're right-handed, that was probably in your way right at the beginning. I hope you know to just go work right over it. If you don't, I'm sorry. I didn't think of that. Okay, and then chain 3. And now to close the round, we're going to slip into the third chain of our first chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and make sure that you get through both parts of the V. Hook through, yarn over, pull through both of those and the loop on your hook. Okay, now you have a perfect little square to build off of. We're going to chain, so chaining 3 to go up, but then we have to get over this cluster to work into this space, so we're going to chain 2 more. Why am I out of focus? There we go. So chain 2 more, so we're doing a total of 5 chains. Now we're going to put 3 double crochet into this space. Okay, and we're going to chain 3. And put 3 more double crochet into that same corner space. Okay. Now we want to chain 2 to jump across this cluster. And we're going to do the same thing in this corner. 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet. Okay, so we're going to chain 2 across here and do our corner, 3, chain 3, 3 here, chain 2 across here, and do 3 double crochets, chain 3, and then 2 double crochet in this last corner. So I'm going to work up until that last section and meet you back here. Okay, so on my last corner, I just chained 3. I'm going to do 2 double crochets, one and 2. Now, the reason we did 2 here instead of 3 is because we have our chain 3 here. So I'm going to count 3 chains, 1, 2, 3. So our third chain, we have 2 going across the space, and we're going to slip into that third chain. A little tricky because my chain was tight, but I got both parts of the V on there. Slip. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to switch colors. Bring my second color in, on the hook, pull it through. Pull this one down. Hold it tight and cut the old color. So cut the old color, you keep your tails together, and grab your new working yarn. You've got 1 chain already, so we're going to chain 2 more. And there's your chain 3 for your next round. Now this round we're starting on a gap instead of a cluster, so we're going to fill in that gap with 3 double crochets, but that's including that first chain 3. So we're going to do 2 double crochet. And then we chain 2. And do our corner. Remember, the corners are 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 more double crochet in the same space. Chain 2 over the cluster and put 3 double crochet in that chain 2 space from the previous row. And chain 2 over the cluster and do your corner. So you continue that pattern all the way around. You're going to chain 2 over your clusters, put 3 double crochet in your chain spaces, and do 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet in your corners all the way around. You reach the end of your round. After your last corner, you're going to chain 2 to cross that last cluster and slip into the top of your chain 3. Now, I'm going to show you how to sew in your ends here with a darning needle. Okay, get your working yarn just out of the way. Now you can do this when you're entirely done so you don't have working yarn in your way. But it's up to you how many rounds you want to do. And I think I'm going to want to make this a little bigger. But I want to keep you here all day with the tutorial, so I'm going to show you here. Good. As I take the second color under the cluster it's made out of it pulls and it right over where it shows there on the chain and kind of covers it a little bit. And go back through those first stitches, because to me, going one way and then back the other is just more secure than going just the one way. It's less likely to get pulled out. And I give it a little yank to make sure that if it does get pulled, it's not, like if the product you make with it gets stretched, your ends aren't moving at all. And then I cut. So it should stay put under that stitch. So I'm yanking and it's not going anywhere. And then with the old color, I try to sew it through its own color. You just tuck under those stitches. This is easier to do if you have a darning needle with a bend at the end like this one. This is a Knit Picks needle I got from Thimbleberry Yarn and Craft recently, and I absolutely adore it. And again, you want to go back through. Thimbleberry Yarn and Craft is also where I picked up these creamer yarns. If you're curious, I know that's not a brand you see a lot in your big box stores, but if you're a Whitehaven local, you can check out Thimbleberries, or you can check their website. I can link it below for you. And if not, you could always check your local yarn shop wherever you are. Okay, and this tail, if you worked over it well, won't need sewn through, but I only worked through it on like my last couple stitches, which tends to happen a lot for left-handers. But really depends on exactly where your knot's positioned and how you work. But you just, if you haven't worked through it, if you haven't worked over it well and it's not well tucked, you just run it through your center stitches there to make sure it's not going anywhere. And snip it. Okay, so now your ends are tucked. You have a nice neat square. You can leave it here or you can keep going. I think I want mine a little bigger. So I'm gonna go another round and then I'm gonna show you how to tie off. Now all of your rounds continue following the same exact pattern that we've already followed thus far. So right now I'm working where my next space is a cluster, so I'm going to chain 5. And do my 3 doubles in my chain 2 space. Then I will chain 2 over the cluster. And work my corner, 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet, chain 2 over the cluster, 3 double crochet in cluster space, chain 2, 3 double crochet, 3, chain 3, 3 in the corner, all the way around. I'll meet you back here. Okay, so reach the end of my round. I have to slip to the top of the 3rd chain, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, through. Okay, there we are. So I'm going to finish mine off here so I can show you how to finish it, but you can continue if you want larger squares. You can switch colors again if you want. Remember, you just pull the color you want in, attach it to your hook, and pull through. Pull that down tight, and you can continue working. But I'm going to finish off here, so I'm taking that out. I'm going to hook back in here. I'm going to cut my yarn, give myself a little tail to work with for sewing in my ends. If you don't leave yourself a tail, your knot will be too close to the end of your string and it might just fall right out. So you want to leave a decent tail. Yarn over and just pull right through that loop. A little slip. Tight, pull it tight. And then sew this end in with the darning needle so your end is nowhere near your knot and it doesn't come undone. That is the key, making sure that things do not come unknotted, because if that comes undone, it'll just unravel all the way around. So you want to slip through your stitches and just hide. And you want to make sure, like, you're not seeing, like right there, that is too much metal showing there. That's going to be like a straight up strip of string, and we don't want strands like that. So you want to make sure you're really getting in between the pieces of your stitches as much as possible, just burying it out of sight in the middle, wherever you can. See, very little metal showing through. That means there's going to be very little string showing through. Okay. Again, I like to go down and back if I can, so you go down a little lower. Again, make sure very little metal showing. Okay. Pull through. Little tug. And snip. And there we have our square. You'll notice the sides actually look a little different. So that'll come into play when we are connecting them. You want to make sure they're facing the same way, but that will be next week's tutorial. You can continue to follow this pattern and make the squares as large or as small as you want them. You can connect a lot of small squares for a blanket or just a few larger ones if you want to connect to build it a little faster. If you join me for the next tutorial, I'll be showing you how to connect the squares. I will show you 3 different ways of doing so. If you want to see that video, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you know as soon as I post it. And in the meantime, practice, practice, practice. The more squares you make, the more you'll have to connect when I show you how next week.